Hello,
So,
everybody.
yeah,
Welcome to IFT Support Team Office Hours. Thank you for joining us. This is a new little segment that we're trying out where Rohit and I are going to come on at a regular cadence and just provide time for IFT users to ask us questions related to IFT more generally or how to get their applets working. And we're just going to jump on here for 30 minutes and interact with you all. Our topic or our focus today is a little bit more towards maybe newer users to the platform, maybe some starter type ideas that can get you going with your applets. So I'm Scott, and with me is Rohit. We both are support team specialists on the IF community team, who every day we're in the support queue helping out IF customers and users to get the most out of our product. So again, thanks for joining us. If you questions we're going through, of course, you can utilize the chat there to drop those in, and we'll do our best to answer as many as we can here. First, we're just going to go through and do a very quick overview of how IFT works for those of you who might be newer to the platform, and then we'll open it up for your questions. Anything to add, Rohit?
nope, I think it's all good. Really excited. People are joining us. So, yeah, all good here. So, I'll be happy to help with every question people might have. Like starting with, we already have a question for the Scotty V, who's looking for a method of getting a daily email with info and links to a website via ChatGPT, which we'll come to. Like, this is the first question I think we are going to talk about after we are done with the brief introduction.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so if we can advance the next slide here. Perfect. All right. Again, today's purpose is just to give you a quick overview and then answer your questions, plain and simple. All right, so what is IFT? This is our IFT Explore page, kind of the home page you see when you open up your IFT account. A link, URL or QR code in the bottom right there if you want to download the app if you don't have it currently. And yeah, you'll see IFT Explore page, access to some ideas of applets that you could even enable and use. And then you can search through different services and other user stories to try to find use cases or inspiration if you're looking for that. Okay, so IFT begins with the services. Services are the basic building blocks of IFT. So those are the other IFT, provides that glue in the middle between different apps and services that then are able to interact with each other, integrate, whereas they weren't able to do that before. And when you're combining two services together to build one of those integrations, that is what we call an applet. A applet is an automation built in the IFT interface, and every applet uses this if-then sort of format. That's where we get the name for our company. If this, then that is the original name of IFT, which was shortened back in the history of IFT, just to make it a little bit easier to say. But again, your if part of an applet is that trigger, and then the then, whatever's happening afterwards, is what we call the action. So again, just zooming in a little bit further, in this applet that we used on the previous page, we had a, thanks Rohit. In this instance, the applet is set up so that if a new public video is uploaded by you to your YouTube channel, then it will create a link post on your Facebook page, and something that then you set up and can run in the background, all the time, and you don't have to worry about cross-posting those YouTube videos to Facebook pages. It just happens automatically. Cool. A query. IFT applets can include something called a query. A query is a way to request additional data that your applet's trigger doesn't provide. So if you need something to happen after an applet is triggered, if you need to go and grab a piece of data from somewhere else and pull it in to be used in the action, that's when a query comes in. So in this instance, we have set up after a button is pushed on your mobile device, then go and grab the weather information about the location that you set. And you can use that weather information later in your applet action, however you need to. Filter code is a bit of JavaScript code that enables you to apply finer grained logic. So this is a little bit more advanced feature, but it allows you to more finely tune how your applet action works and even set up things like skips where if certain conditions are met, the applet will not continue to run. And then delay. So a delay can be added after a trigger such that after the trigger, the action doesn't run until the delay is complete. So um, again, another advanced use case or feature that is very useful. And then you can set up a certain number of hours or minutes or seconds and so on. Applet gradient and field. So we have a basically the ability within our applets to use those pieces of information, which we call ingredients or fields. Um, Basically, the interface allows you to select and use them. They're basically just individual pieces of data that come from a trigger, which then can be used in the applet's action. And so you can see here in this instance of this applet, any WordPress new post, then the Facebook status message that is created actually uses the post URL from that WordPress post, adds it into the applet, and can be then set up the automation exactly how you need to post that link. Cool. So just to review, we have the trigger in an IFT applet. We have the trigger, then we have queries that run, and filter code can add fine-tune capability, and then the actions can run. And it's even possible to set up an applet with multiple actions so that one trigger creates multiple, sets off multiple actions in one applet. Cool. So looks like we've got a couple questions already in chat, and even some users who are helping each other already. Simon and Alan are interacting already, so appreciate your help, that guy. Rohit, what was that first question that we wanted to tackle?
So here's the question. Let me show on stream as well. So looking for a method to get a daily email with info and links to a website via ChatGPT. So it depends. Like if you want to have that in regular interval, let's say if you want uh, to have this applet to run like at every interval, let's say every morning at 10 a.m., then you want to get like something from ChatGPT, you can add your prompt and then get it on your email. But and the links to website is something which is dependent on how ChatGPT responds to you. So let us try creating some similar applet right now. So if I go to
Cool.
if.com/create, and let's say every date at time, like every day at 10 a.m. maybe 10 a.m. 0 minutes, create trigger. That would be an email. Send me an email. I'll change the fields like what do you want in your body when I configure the ChatGPT query. For now, I'll just add test, create action, and then query. I'll use the ChatGPT query for now, and I'll ask like the prompt could be send me a link to a website which provides mm, can be something like which provides good food recipes. So yeah, and now ChatGPT, depending on if you are good in prompt engineering, you can maybe add more filters of how what kind of websites you want, in what format you want. Like you can say, I always want it in HTTPS. I'll just add placeholder like website name .com, or let's say TLD, because it can be any TLD format format. And yeah, and default language would be English, so it will give you an English language. Create query, and then said that email would be here. I can use the body like link for today's website is, and then I'll use the same response that I get from ChatGPT. We can also maybe modify this response using filter code, but for now, just let's keep it simple and continue. So every day at 10 a.m., send me an email to my email address. And that's how I'll get email address from ChatGPT. And I think this is pretty much something that you wanted as Scotty. But if you want more details, or if you want if you have more in-depth question of filter of how you want emails on your email, you can add it in the comments, and let's see how we can fine tune it for your use case. Do you want to add something, Scott?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That was perfect. I think that's very important to reiterate is with that ChatGPT integration that IFT has, um, basically any query or any prompt rather that you can enter into ChatGPT can now be used inside of an IFT applet. So as fine tuned or as careful as you can write that GPT prompt, and as good as the ChatGPT answer can be, then really the world is your oyster to use that service and power your automations and grab information that you find useful or that ChatGPT is able to access for you. So super powerful. I mean, there's a million and one use cases you could probably use with that ChatGPT prompt. So awesome, awesome use case. And I hope that helps point you in the right direction, Scotty.
Yeah.
Um,
So Scotty has one more question. Do I need to connect my ChatGPT account to IFT? If so, how do I connect? So, do you want to answer this one, Scott?
um, well, Rohit, you're doing great. Why don't you go for it?
Okay. So, the ChatGPT account is not needed. So, if you are on a new IFT account, uh, not new IFT account, but if you're using your existing IFT account, it is like already authenticated. So, you just have to click connect, and no credentials will be required. So, yeah, you can use the ChatGPT which we are using. So you don't have to log into your ChatGPT credentials. But if you want to use if on your ChatGPT, you can use our if GPT. But yeah, this query works just fine. Like I think it will be a good use case, the one you recommended, and can be done with if applet.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Um, I'm seeing a good question from Simon was next, I think, about a couple of different things. Um, the using it to answer questions as a bot. Um, might need a little more detail on what Simon, on what stack you're using or what exactly other apps you have. Where you'd be gathering information from. Um, uh, but there might be a way to um, again using data or using filter code to try to set up integration like that. I just need a little bit more information. But I did think there was an interesting question regarding. You also said, Simon, can I get if to run on a Raspberry Pi? For those of you not familiar, Raspberry Pi is what's called a single board computer, about this big, and can be used to run computer programs or even as a desktop computer. Um, a lot of hobbyists or people who enjoy working on computers enjoy. They're very cheap and very portable, obviously, to use. They can run software on them. If actually, our software, of course, runs in the cloud, so there will really be an if that could run like on a version of if that could run locally on your Raspberry Pi or on your computer. But if you have a Raspberry Pi running some type of server, for example, where it can interact with the internet or it can send data, receive data. It's possible to interact with that server using IFT using our webhooks um, service. So IFT can be used, and this is looking again getting a little bit more into the technical, but IFT has a capability where we can send what's called HTTP requests, just like a server would over the internet, and either send data or receive data, and that would be a way to sort of integrate it with if you have your own server. But IFT's backend services, of course, are always running in the cloud and aren't able to be put on a local machine.
Yeah, and yeah, I've seen many users who have like made creative use cases using IFT and their home server, like using Raspberry Pi and stuff. Like they send requests using webhooks, or maybe if something happens in their home, they can send requests from their Raspberry Pi to webhooks and do automations here. So yeah, it's a good use case to do things with Raspberry Pi on IFT.
Yep.
So, next question is from Alain Gonzalez. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but yeah, will we ever have the ability to add more than one trigger to applet? So like we try to make our applets like as reliable as possible. So if we have like multiple triggers for one applet, it might get confusing here. One workaround to this would be to create different applets, but they all have same action. Let's say if you want to run an applet where there's a tweet from, let's say Scott, and then there's a tweet from Rohit, and then you want to run the same action, that is, let's say you want to post it on Telegram. So you can create two applets: one that fetches a tweet from Scott, another that fetches a tweet from Rohit, and then you can send it to same Telegram account. So that's a workaround of having more than one triggers here to run the same action. Or if you want, like if you have multiple use cases, you can create one applet that receives a webhook and run an action. So you can create that one applet, and then you can create other applets with the multiple triggers. Like you can have five applets that point to the same applet in the end to, let's say, let post on Telegram. So I hope that answers your question. If you have like more details, uh, you can uh, you can let us know. Also, you can make use of query, which says like, let's say if there's, you can use queries and filter code. So if there's a tweet from Scott, and then you can use filter code, and if the tweet contains words like interesting, so you can then run the applet using filter code, or you can skip the applet if it doesn't contain the word interesting. It's just an example, but that's how you can make use of filter code and queries and trigger.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good to point out. In the instance where you have a something like I want whenever a tweet comes out from this account and it includes these three words, that's still technically one trigger, but you can then filter it down, right, to only trigger on those particular three words. That is an example of sort of where you're getting kind of that feature or functionality of having multiple, kind of like multiple triggers, but without having to build multiple apps. Um, yeah, cool.
Elaine has a follow-up question. I can run any applet from another applet. Yes, like I told you, you can create an applet that receive a webhook and then run an action of your choice. And then from other applets, you can use the action that says make a web request, and you can use the URL for the applet that you created previously to run an action. That's how you can maybe run an applet from another applet. So yeah, that's one of the use cases where we run one applet from another applet, is how you want to add like a delay between running applets. So like if you want to add a delay of 15 minutes, and then you want to run another applet, let's say at 10 a.m., turn on the light, but I want the lights to be turned off, but after 15 minutes. So that's what I'll do. I'll run an applet, I'll run a trigger like at 10 a.m., turn on a light, I'll add a delay of 15 minutes, and then pass it on to another applet that will turn off the light. So here's an article we wrote. Let me share it on screen. I can share it on chat as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask you, I think we had one about this that would be helpful. Cool.
Yeah. So in this article, we have shown how we can add, like how we can run one applet from another applet. So yeah, I'll share that link in the chat.
Perfect. Yeah, this is a very powerful automation because this is, again, it's another workaround where essentially you could have any number of trigger applets that then all point to one particular action, applet, where you could set up as many different conditions for the trigger as you want, as many different applets that all point to the same action. So that is another way to consider going about it, but it does again require building out multiple applets.
Sure. And Simon has a follow-up question regarding the bot they were referring to. So I'm standing for election, so I want the questions to be answered based on the content of a manifesto and the article that I've written. So yeah, so for that we have to feed the article to ChatGPT or maybe any AI service that you are using. For now,
Mm-hmm.
here's what we can do. So you can create a form that will take in the question from the user, and then in your prompt you can have all the text and all the articles which you have in your manifesto in the ChatGPT prompt. And then you can add a prompt like, based on the above manifesto points, please answer the following question, which is coming from the webhook. And as soon as we have the response, you can send it back to your website using webhooks. So you can make a HTTP request to back to your website, and then you can get the answer which you got from ChatGPT. Just similar to the first example that we use, like in the case it was using, we were using it to email it to us, we can send it back to the website and website can show it on the web page.
So Rohit, so the front end of that original, I'm just thinking out loud here. So
Mhm.
Simon's the person interested in Simon's campaign would then be writing into a form like a Google form or a chat or a Jot form or something posted on Simon's website,
Mhm.
and then
Let
yeah, cool. Okay,
let's see
cool.
if
Yeah,
so. Jotform has this trigger new submission. So I don't have a Jotform account currently, but I can
yeah,
open like what it accepts. So Jotform
perfect.
details and new submission. So whenever there's a new submission, you'll have the following details: form ID, question filter. So in this, I think there are like names, email address, and everything. So you can add your own filter field, which could be maybe something like question, and then you receive it via trigger. And then
Hmm.
let me take like webhooks for example for now, but we can use the same technique in jot form as well. So webhooks receive a web request, let's say question, and then use the query ChatGPT. So ChatGPT
Cool.
prompt, and prompt could be like, this is my manifesto points. I don't know how manifesto works like in depth, so sorry for not adding depth to it. But something like, first we will do this and things like that, 2 3, and then you can add something like, based on the above points, please respond to this question, which would be from the value ingredient we are using from trigger. So webhooks
Yep.
use the value one ingredient, .com use the question ingredients, and we can have like, depends on the service. And then
Yeah.
we can create a query, and then we can send it back to the website using webhooks. So we make webhooks request to the website server, let's say HTTPS something like test.com, make a post request with the body and content type JSON or anything that works for your website, and the body could be something like answer, and answer could be the ingredient which is received from the prompt. This is the response. So it can somewhat act like a basic bot, but like if you want to feed a PDF to it or maybe add more depth into it, it can get a bit like this would need more API requests from ChatGPT, which can be tweaked. So I think the best way is to add more and more details in your prompt so your chatbot works the way you want. You can
Yeah.
also ask the chatbot to respond to maybe in JSON format or maybe HTML format, so that direct HTML is sent to your website. But this is up to you how you want to use the prompt.
Yeah. And, Rohit, I was thinking too, maybe at the very least, this IFT applet that you've started to build here or with modification, uh, you could like, let's say, um, uh, Simon, let's say like if you could at least set it up to the point where you receive a notification saying you have a new message from your site or your form or even via email, and then you could have a suggested response that then is already generated by the chat GPT. At least you could get to that point, I think, fairly easily, saying you have a new message. Also, we drafted up a response for you, and you could even choose to maybe copy that in the response back at that point, or choose to edit it if you feel like tweaking, what the AI has written. Would you agree with that, Rohit?
Yep, totally agree.
Rather than letting the bot totally do it on its own, you could at least have that intermediate step of you receive suggested response and then can choose to tweak it before you send it.
Yeah,
Um, but again,
yeah.
just emphasizing the incredible power of, I mean, chat GPT and with that integration, everyone becomes a programmer with plain language, right? You just type what you want it to be doing, and it's pretty good at it, and it's only getting better all the time. So kind of wild.
Sure. There's this one another question from Jim that says, is there anything in Works that will allow us to group applets into folders so that they are better organized as opposed to all applets in single group? Grouping by project or task would be nice. Yeah, that's a great suggestion, and we do
Yeah.
have we do have like planned this, but it is not still on work. We don't have an ETA, but whenever there will be an ETA or there will be a progress, we'll announce it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a great suggestion. I myself would be a user because a lot of users who get onto the Pro Plus plan with the unlimited applets. It's very powerful how many automations you can set up. Can get a little bit unwieldy when you get above 20, 30, 40, 50, 100. Some people even have 100 applets. So definitely would be useful to be able to group the fold. And yeah, I hope that we're able to work on that soon. We'll keep everyone, of course, updated as soon as we have more information on that.
Sure. And there's one more thing I want to highlight from Adsanon. It's a feedback for me, I think. Rohit, thanks so much for your support. I'm finally able to create a share map between my company's CRM and accounting system. All thanks to you. So yeah, you're welcome. So as a side note, I also work with the partners to help them set up their integration. So if you want to build your service on Ift, uh, you can contact us and we'll help you get on Ift so that your users can use it with multiple products. So yeah, please feel free to contact us and we'll help you further. Again, you're welcome. That's a lot. These words are kind. Thanks.
Yeah, Rohit, I'm trying to remember. I know we're always ever inching towards 1,000 servers connected. What do you know the number that we're at right now, or nearabouts?
Like the number of services we have on it,
Yeah,
it's more than 700. So I think it's more than 700 right now.
yeah, yeah. Lots of opportunity there. Yeah, if you are if you're an app developer who has an application that you want to integrate with IF, we would love to have it. And Rohit would definitely be ready to assist with that. It's really cool to be able to, if you're a technically minded person who's got something you're working on, to be able to harness and add it to all this functionality. It's really cool.
Yeah. And okay. So another one is from Chef Pachi Gallo. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong again, but also by accounts, I have two accounts, and if I could folder them under Spanish and English, it would be nice. It is, yeah, again in the works, like grouping of your applets. Whenever we are able to group applets under specific folder, we can maybe name the folder name Spanish, and we can maybe name it under English, and that's how I can do it. So you would have to have two different accounts for two different services. Speaking of
Cool.
Spanish, uh, Eduardo says hi from Barcelona.
Awesome. Eduardo.
All right. And
All right.
mhm, let's see what other
Let's
questions
see
we
if we
have.
had anything missed here. I think we hit most of them here, Rohit.
Yeah, I think this is. If we are unable to answer your question which was in chat, you can definitely feel free to send it through support channels, and someone from our team, maybe Scott or I, will be able to answer that for you. Not let us know.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'd say this was a great one. Great questions from everybody. I feel like we were able to address them. And hope you feel that way too. But again, we're going to be doing this on a regular cadence, and looking forward to the next one where we can jump in and hopefully get some cool use cases figured out for you guys and provide suggestions there. But of course, we're figuring this process out as well and what works. So we love your comments and feedback. If you have any thoughts about the format or anything you'd like us to cover. So thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Sure. See you soon.
Bye now.